Hello, and welcome to another session of the Mastermind Book Club. In this session, we are reviewing a book that has been recommended by one of our masterminds, Gina Pouchie. The book is The Simple Path to Wealth, author J.L. Collins Green. I'd like to call on our first mastermind, Reggie Hilliard, to give his brief summary.
Hello, everyone. Reggie Hilliard at the Mastermind Book Club. So the book is basically about building wealth in a simple way. Simple, which may not be easy, but it's simple if you just were to apply what the author is basically subscribing to. And really, he's looking for us to minimize our expenses and minimize our waste and take a good portion of our wealth. I mean, if you can, the more you make, the less you can live off of, ideally, if you're not wasteful. But the whole thing with him is basically taking your money and putting it into a passive investment fund, which we know as mutual funds or ETFs, depending on, which have very low loads, which are basically the cost that the fund charges to invest your money. And so passive investing means basically the money's going into these stocks, compiled into these funds, and not much movement is happening. And the funds are typically index funds and things of that nature, which are basically a bucket of stocks that comprise the market. And if you were to just put your money in these stocks, which are not being traded in and out of, there's less expense. And with them mirroring the market, the major market, over time, the market has done anywhere from maybe 8 to 12, or let's just say rounded around close to 10% a year. So you have a good chance of at least on average making about 10% a year, even though it doesn't exactly work like that, but it's just an average. So this is what is being proposed to keep it very simple, invest in what they call ETFs, which are exchange traded funds or mutual funds, and let those portfolio managers take care of your business. Although you can do it yourself if you really learn, because they're not necessarily doing it so great. Many of them go under, which is another thing. They're actually more mutual funds than there are actually US stocks. And every several years, they're pretty much folding. So, but if you just keep it real simple, put your money in the market that way, you have a good chance that over a duration of time to do a decent return that you can live off of. The goal is 4% a year of your money.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'd like to call on our next mastermind, and that is Gina Pouchie. Thank you for recommending the book, by the way, Gina Pouchie, before you unmute yourself. Very, very insightful.
Awesome. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, as I am enjoying it. So what I gather, if I can say it in a few words from this book, is live below your means and then invest the rest. And don't go around listening to charlatans and people who are predicting how the market is going to be. It's like, oh yeah, you need to do this, you buy this stock and so forth and so on because the market is going to go up or it's going to go down, and so you need to sell it now and so forth and so on. That that doesn't work in the long run. Panic selling and so forth and so on, and always avoid envy, in a sense, looking at what the other neighbor is doing and what they're earning. Just let it. I think Warren Buffett said this, or Charlie Munger, one of them. Like investing should be like looking at watching paint dry. So invest for the long term. Don't get all caught up in all of the people who are saying this, do this, and do that. Just keep it in an index fund. In this case, he says to put it in like VTSAX and just forget it for a time being until you're getting ready to retire, and then go back and check it again and put some bond in in your portfolio. So yeah, I like this book because I don't like to. I've been doing a bunch of trading here and there on Robinhood, and overall I suppose I've done well, but having to listen to somebody say this and go up and buy this and so forth and so on. He said in the end, those who trade like that, they end up losing in the long term, and we never really hear about it. We only hear about the big gains that they made. So like 82% of them end up losing money. Yeah. So that's, anyway, I'm excited about this book and I'm following it. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Gina Pouchie. Now I'd like to call our next mastermind, and as he unmutes himself, Chaz Culmer, all the way from somewhere in some island, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Mastermind Book Club. I'm just going to piggyback on what Reggie and Gina said. Pretty much in this book is a great book if you are just starting out and is investing, or if you're like me, a long-time investor. Main thing is to live off of less, as the panel has said, and invest the difference. And then try to find, I'm going to add this, which the book hit on several times, is a free flowing system of money. It could be that you do something extra. I have no idea what interests most folks, but, as kids, we cut grass, we collected bottle tops. The book made mention of several different things where you just get into that to be able to put money into these index funds, these ETFs, and leave it alone. Don't go back and borrow it like I did, as I was telling the panel. Put the money in, and over a certain period of time, you're trying to get at least 4% back. I always had a point that if I ever had $1 million at 5% will give you $50,000 a year. This is achievable. The book talks about how achievable the $1 million is within one's working lifetime. That's 20 to 40 years. And it could be even sooner, depending on your skill set, dealing with real estate or insurance investing, or even with the stock market. So the book has a lot of great points. Pretty much, try to live off of less, put your money into investments, don't touch it, and go for the ride.
Chaz Culmer, let's go for the ride. Thank you for that. Now, this book is, or I'd say Jill Collins is mainly lenient on investing on ETFs. ETFs, for those who don't know, are electronic transfer funds investment. And it's basically just a lot of companies put together into one portfolio, makes it easier to invest. What was in the news 2 days ago is BlackRock, and BlackRock is managed by Larry Fink, and he's the one that manages Vanguard portfolios. And his assets, or the assets of BlackRock, were valued at 13 trillion. This was 2 days ago. 13 trillion. I'm reading here from the paper, which is I believe the New York Post, Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. It's up 17% from a year ago, 13.46 trillion. Buoyant markets and 205 billion in new client money helped lift the manager above the 13 trillion mark for the first time. BlackRock's shares are up 3.4%. Why am I saying this? There's always opportunity. Is it always going to be this perfect? No. Some people will wait till the market crashes to jump in. Some people wait for news like what I just mentioned to jump in. Some people don't know when to jump in, so they jump in every week, every month. What is the best way to invest? There is no perfect solution, but if you have steady investment of income and you have it invested regularly, dollar cost averaging is what I'm referring to, DCA, dollar cost averaging. Put in your $50 a week, put in every week, or put in 100 every week, or 500 a month. It depends on you. This is one type of investment that I'd say very few people live up to, and that's just the reality. It's hard to stop living, with half of your income in today's cost of living. The COLA cost of living is much, much higher than when J.L. Collins was living back in the, presume, 50s, 60s, 70s, which was a bit easier, or maybe even 70s, 80s, and 90s, which was a bit easier because his parents probably taught him a thing or two about investing. And most of our parents, what would they have known about investing? Not much, maybe about debt, because everyone knows about debt. Now, I'd like to ask our mastermind 2 questions. Number 1, would you implement this today, this strategy in your life? You can unmute yourself, Gina.
I absolutely would.
Today, starting today.
Oh, like later, because we're like later in life, you're saying, yeah, I would, absolutely.
So for the next 40 years, you would freeze your money?
Well, I'm not sure about 40 years. I would say like 10, 15 years up the road. Nah, I mean, 40 years.
Okay.
Another story.
All right. Thank you for your answer, your understanding. And I'm gonna get to the why. Reggie or Chaz?
I mean, it's a decent strategy, and so yeah, I mean, you could put a certain amount for X amount of time. In this case, maybe 20, 15, 20 years, depending on. So it's a strategy that works. It has validity.
Thank you, Reggie.
It's never too late to start. Some people who are in their 60s, 70s are starting now, and they're being forced to, even though their life expectancy might not be as much. But if you don't start in 5 to 10 years, what will you have? So yes, you definitely would start now, if not earlier.
Thank you. So there are a lot of factors that, unless you're investing regularly, you won't really know about. And one of those is there's always bound to be a market crash, just as J.L. Collins mentioned. And people get scared when there's a market crash. But actually, it's momentary. And most people just fear just the word, oh, it's going to crash. It's going to crash. It's a part of life. We've seen Bitcoin crash way more than the actual stock market, but it's gone up way more than the actual stock market. And just as J.L. Collins mentioned that he was in Bitcoin and he entered around the same time that I entered, at around 3,000, and he got out pretty much at the same time I got out at 20,000. If we would have left our money there until now, it would have been a completely different story. We didn't make much. We didn't make much. We made 6 times what we invested, and not much. But if we would have left it till now, we would have made a huge killing. 30 times. So, if you understand. So, Bitcoin has turned over many more times quicker. The stock market, what you're doing is just investing in these companies that are bound to make a well-worthy investment. Now, would I do this today? I am. I have been. I still am. One of the things that I am not doing directly with all my investments, but with some, is having some type of a trust where you put your investments in, because that way it's protected from these huge taxes. God forbid we die. Then you have a death tax, just as you do have a living tax. And the death tax is usually higher. So most people don't know about this. And I don't think it's mentioned in this book, and it's not one of those things that people are thinking about right away. But just remember that. Look into setting up a trust account that will allow you to pass on your assets to your family members if you pass away, or if you become, in a vegetable state and you can't manage it anymore. Another question for the group here is, would you stop living in order to invest 50% of the money that you're receiving right at this moment. Meaning whatever it is that you're spending it on, because most people are spending. So would you stop spending 50% of your income on whatever it is that you spend it on and just start parking it?
Well, David, that would depend, right? Whether you can afford to do that. And, you know, I guess it depends on your, you know, the situation that you're in at the moment. But I guess the idea is to, like, you know, sacrifice them now, you know, for a better future. But no, you know, that's not guaranteed as well. So I guess it's a decision that we all have to, you know, it doesn't have to be half of your income. It could still be just, you know, be below your means, like you said, and try to invest the rest, not try to do it. So I guess it depends.
Great. Reggie, Charles?
In the ideal, I mean, it does, like Gina said, it doesn't have to be 50, but the thing is, I said in my remarks, I said, you know, get rid of the frivolous spending and lower your expenses. I might not have said that, but I said get rid of the frivolous expenses. And then the more you make, if you are like reducing the nonsense that you're spending and you make more, and then overall you're not your expenses are necessarily high, depending on your situation. Like if you have a house and you paid it off, you know, things like that, and maybe school bills, and maybe your kids out of school, so then that reduces. So then that you would have more income in that case that you couldn't necessarily either invest to the market or other types of investing. It doesn't just have to be the market. The market has done decently, but so has things like real estate. You know, real estate, a lot of wealthy people have made their money in real estate. And a lot of people have made their money in technology nowadays. If you look at the top wealthiest people, they're a lot of the first so many people are tech people. So it just depends. So, you know, which can in that case be like more tech stocks, but then these markets are always switching. But, you know, answering your question, yes, invest more. Does it have to be 50%? It depends. You know, if that's not really where I want to put all my money, then it doesn't have to be that, but just invest more because you have more. And then that's based on what you do with your money overall and what your overall expenses are.
Okay, I'm gonna piggyback off of what they said. Pretty much in today's economy, a lot of people are losing money anyway with the devaluing of the dollar. So a lot of people automatically are living off of less. So 50% might be quite a bit, especially when things are higher. You have oranges that are $2.25 a piece, apples are $2 a piece, and you know, milk is, you know, $6, $7, $8 a gallon. So it might not be feasible for people to use the 50% rule, but at least start somewhere. We were just talking about this, and Reggie mentioned frivolous spending. Instead of making a coffee at home, same Starbucks coffee, if you get you a Keurig and you make the Starbucks coffee at home, you cut the price down by, I think it's almost 65%, which means that you could have that 65% to put into some type of investment using the dollar cost averaging, where you would pick some type of vehicle, be it crypto, stocks, real estate, or even creating some type of business venture where you can have that free flow cash situation that I spoke about earlier to start putting money towards your future. The thing is to start, to actually do something now, because as you can see, or as you know, time is quickly moving on, not just for me, but for everyone. You know, your little grandchildren are maybe anywhere between 3 and 12. You know, a few more years, they'll be adults, and the time goes quickly. So do something now.
Yes, thank you. So there is no perfect scenario on how to do this. There is no perfect scenario. Now, if I started from zero, I was told at the beginning that, you know, if I wanted to reach $1 million, I just have to do zero expenses. And I was already in debt when I was 18. You know, that's just the way that the majority of us start, is being in debt. And when you start out in debt, it makes it tougher to start doing what J.L. Collins did. I grew up, just as most people do, in a family that doesn't know about managing money. So I had to learn the hard way. I invested a bit, probably, as much as our mastermind group here is. And, and I have these investments that are, dispersed because, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and you need to have some type of balance, an all-weather type of portfolio, which is what I recommend, meaning don't have all everything on this tree, because this tree could be struck by lightning and then that's it. And you've got to have some other backings, because you don't know where it's going to go. There are a lot of the countries in the world are starting to buy gold again, because they feel that that's just a safe haven. Now, what have I done in reference to this? Yeah, I recommend save as much as you can, but also enjoy life. I mean, we've got to enjoy life. And if you've got to spend $500 on, on shoes that you love and you absolutely need, and you're not doing it every week or every month or every year, go ahead. If you've got to buy something on, on one of these apps or websites that is on sale, just make sure it's on sale, because the word sale is just overused, and try and get a deal. And just as Chaz said, we can all save money, find ways to save money, common sense ways. Instead of purchasing lunch or breakfast, take it with you. I've started to do that with coffee as well, and try and save as much as I can. If I buy a coffee, I make sure it's double the dose, so that I don't have to buy one in the morning and one in the afternoon, just as an example. And, and I keep it sometimes even 24 hours. You might think I'm crazy, but I'm just trying to save money as well. So, and I did that today. There's no perfect way. You're not going Today's lifestyle does not equal to the one that J.L. Collins grew up with. It's much more expensive. It doesn't match the income. It's much higher. Taxes are much higher in general. And, you've got to do this in a way that is realistic to your habits. But I do like what Gina said, is that just invest. If you can invest 50%, invest it. But if you can't, do as much as you can, because you want to leave a legacy behind. And I know that Reggie and Chaz know what I'm talking about. And Gina has just introduced us to this book that is welcome in any family. So I want to ask you one more question, each of you, in reference to legacy. Do you think this book helps you to understand more of building a legacy, or of creating a legacy, or continuing a legacy, or something like that?
I think so. I think it gives us a blueprint for doing so. I mean, this book was originally this started off as a blog, right? That JL decided to write for his daughter, because she was saying, when he kept talking to her about finances, she was saying, I'm not interested in all that stuff. It just sounds too complicated. I just want something simple. And so he decided to say, okay, his daughter taught him something, how to just simplify life. And I guess right now too, at my age, I like to have life simplified. It's like I don't want to be chasing this hot tip here and this hot tip over here. You know what I mean? I want to just be able to just fix it and forget it. That is my goal. And so I think that can leave kind of a legacy. I already bought a book for one of my daughter and her boyfriend, and they say they're going to read it, and hopefully that they do. And I was telling my son, what a good age to start off right now, just put away even $100 a month. They're buying food here and there and going out here and doing this and that and the other. Just take that one little hundred and put it away and watch what happens, in the next 30 years or so. And they're going to just surprise themselves. I wish that I read this book a long time ago, but Chaz was saying, it's never too late. So we'll just take it from there and just, keep smiling and keep going. Start right where you are.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gina. Reg, Charles, anything to say, to add?
I mean, it could be legacy building if you establish your legacy. Part of your legacy is creating a certain amount of wealth and then potentially leaving that wealth behind. So you have to be putting those two things together, because at some level it may not be that, because if you're just attempting to put money enough together to be able to establish a lifestyle when you're of an advanced age, then it's just that. It's a legacy part component if you actually able to get to a level where that number is sustainable, it's such a level where it helps to sustain your lifestyle, and then there's more than enough, or enough that you can actually pass it over in a will to your kids or whomever. So, or charity, depending on what you want to do. So in that way, but you have to have that as the mindset, because many of us are not even thinking that way. We're thinking just survival. But if you're beyond survival and you're looking to amass enough to to make some type of impact, leave it to your family, like I said, or whatever it is you choose to do. In the case of where I think, yeah, I'm not, I don't look at like survival. I look at like being a major influence in his life and all that kind of stuff. So this could be one component of it, creating a certain level of wealth here, just as well as I mentioned other areas, real estate and other stuff. In the case of me, I have a book which I'm really promoting right now to get to a global level. So any one of a number of these things could help to be a part of my legacy, just as much as anyone else can create their legacy in a number of different ways, including this.
Thank you, Reg. Chaz.
I agree with what Reg just said. There are many ways to create a legacy, but for me, it's more important right now that you live a certain standard of life for yourself to set up that legacy. So what the book is talking is relevant to today. That it has some great points, but is the climate the same? Are the charts the same? The tax bracket, the I guess the political situation, all these things are different right now, and they will affect the way you seek to invest, to seek to set yourself up. But I think the moral that we all trying to put across is that you need to start doing something for yourself now and also for your legacy later.
Thank you, Charles. J.L. Collins mentions VTSAX. Would you like to see a quick chart in reference to it?
Sure.
Let me see it right here. Can you see that? This is a 1 month chart on VT Vanguard Total Stock Market, VTSAX. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
This is 1 month. This is 3 months. You see how the chart changes. Now it looks upward. You see here it dipped right there. It dipped here, everywhere, right? During the chart. There's a 6 month chart. It says 25% increase in 6 months. 12% increase in a year, but you can see in a year it dipped down to 120. I mean, it started 140 to the left, and then in the middle here it's 119, and now it's at 159. This is also 1 year, very similar. 5 years, it's gone up 83%. So if you would have bought at $80, now it's at 159, almost double in 5 years, almost double what you invested 5 years ago. 10 years ago, if you would have invested and you bought at 49, so you would have gone up a good 200%, it says here. So for $50, 3 times your original
That's a
investment.
phenomenal return.
We didn't talk about compounding. The book definitely talks about the compounding effect.
And this is since it started, inception, or at least since this chart is around, it's 2000. December of 2000, which was at $30, and now it's at 159, 424%. This is one side. Now, what do you see in this chart?
Up and down movement.
Ups and down, but up all the way. It's still going up.
Even if it drops,
Yep.
It eventually goes upward.
Yep. And that's the same thing you said for the index, like the S&P 500, like, that's been the history of all these, the index funds.
Right now, it's at $159 a share. Now, it's at the top, but is there room to grow? Yes, if you hold it long enough there is room to grow. So are you going to be able to get 83% in 5 years? Maybe, maybe not. You know, in a year you can get 13%. But is that guaranteed? No. So that's why, just as Reg and Gina and Charles mentioned, 4 to 5% is what the market is going for an average. But if you leave this long enough, you will get these gains much better, much better. So just get started and things will go on. And you know, this is one type of investment. A lot of people worry about taxes. Then if you're overseas, you're much better off because you don't have to deal with the taxes in most you know, big places like the US and Europe. And you know, if you're in an island, usually you don't have these bigger taxes. So there are ways around it, but you've got to figure that out, because I'm not here to give you investing advice. I'm not your financial advisor, but you know, this should put you in the right move. So again, any last words before we sign off?
Be careful of investment advisors. Most of them, according to the book, are advising you for their own interest and for their own profit and commission,
which is usually 1 to 2% of whatever it is you have.
That was absolutely what I was going to say, Chaz. Yeah, I hate that. You know, the fact that they're into trying to help you with your money, you know, that's working against you in the first place, because there's something in it for them. And so they might give you some bad advice. And we're the best handlers of our money. Just learn what we need to do.
And if it sounds too good to be true, it is.
And they get in pay regardless of if they win or lose.
So again, we are not your financial advisors. Always seek the help of a professional in order to make the best decisions for you on investing. Having it invested in several different areas is good. You know, maybe buying land, maybe buying part of a business, and maybe investing in either stocks or crypto. That's up to you. You've got to figure that out, because we have our own plans, but we can't give you that advice legally. So this is the Mastermind Book Club. Thanking Gina Pouchie for this book, this very, very useful tool. And as well as Reggie Hilliard, Chaz Culmer, and myself, CEO David Diaz, signing off until next week, where we'll review another empowering book. Take care.